So what is reactive abuse? Well, it's not a good one, I can tell you that much. I have been through this. I'm not going to say that the person that I went through this with was doing it on purpose, but it definitely happened. And I'm not going to say which relationship I was in when it happened, because that's just not necessary or respectful. So, but I can say, very deeply wounding. Very deeply wounding. What is reactive abuse? So, reactive abuse is when you have an individual that you are in some kind of relationship with, and it can be any kind of relationship. It could be your boss, your spouse, your parent, anybody. Somebody that pulls this card and they use this form of manipulation is somebody that is at the point in the relationship with you, usually, where they're getting kind of desperate to rather regain control of you, to keep control of you, or they're in the midst of assembling an exit strategy where they can make you look responsible for the relationship deteriorating. And so this is kind of what it looks like. I'll try to give you the best understanding as I can. Somebody that likes to provoke you, they usually want to provoke you to behave in the ways that they actually rather behave, or they want you to act in ways that they really feel themselves. So that way they can paint you as the abusive one. They can pin you with the bulk of the responsibility for how the relationship is not going well. And they really can make you look and feel like you are an abusive person. So how do they do that? Well, the key word to this is provoke. I'll give you a scenario to this. Let's say, normally speaking, you are a very calm, self-controlled person. You don't really yell a bunch, you don't swear a bunch, you don't throw things, you've never hit anybody. But now let's say you've been in a relationship for a year or two with someone, and the relationship has been difficult, let's say toxic, and then you realize this person is not the healthiest for you. If you're kind of in the midst of thinking, this maybe, you've been talking to them about how you're feeling, things aren't going so good, somebody that really feels the need to control you, to keep you, or to make you look like the bad guy, what they're going to do when they come into the room, if you're ordinarily a very self-controlled person, and they have been the abuser, or the narcissist, or whatever you want to call it, even though I'm kind of getting sick of hearing that word, to be honest, at this point, because it's so overused. But they may come in the room and pick an argument with you. So it might look something like this. Let's say you're working at the computer, and they come in the room, and you want to give them your attention. So you close the screen to the computer and think, okay, yeah, what do you need, They may say to you, why did you close the screen? And you may say to them, well, I wanted to give you attention, you came in the room, so I wanted to figure out what do you need, What they may do at this point is start accusing you of doing things that you weren't doing. And then they may start to provoke by pushing every button that they know you have. So for me, I do not like when people stand behind me. This is a very normal autistic trait. Well, if your partner knows that you cannot stand that, they may come stand right behind you and just start poking your shoulder like, hey, 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 things like that. Anything that could just get you to eventually snap. But here's the thing. When you lose it, when you finally are pushed into the corner and you cannot take it anymore, they're going to grow very calm and self-controlled all of a sudden as you lose it. And they're going to stand there or sit there or whatever it may be with a haughtiness and maybe even a little smirk. And there's a good chance they may even have their phone recording you as you go into this reactive abuse where you retaliate now. But do you think that they're going to record the part where they were poking and prodding and accusing and berating? No. They're going to record the moment you started going nuts and abusing them and retaliating. So now, in the future, they have all of this evidence against you in their phone of all the horrible things you ever said or did to them that prove how abusive you are. So they can show you down the road. They can play these videos for you. Here, look at this was the time you lost it on me about this. Oh, here, this is the time you lost it on me about this. And not only can they show you this stuff for gaslighting purposes or whatever it may be, they can show your family that don't believe that you are abusive. They can show whoever they want. Their new partner. Yeah, I actually recorded her. Look at how abusive she was to me all the time. Listen to the things that she said. That's reactive abuse. Because what they're doing is they're literally abusing you for the purpose of getting you to behave in the ways of which they behave or the ways of which they want you to behave so they can paint you as somebody that you're not. Very, very, very damaging, manipulative, and wounding practice. And I've been through this. It is toxic, and it's actually really dangerous to be with somebody that does this because they know no lines. They will push until you snap. And really, they're provoking the potential for something being very, very violent. And that's what they want, actually. They want you to hurt them. They want to have a big gouge. They want you to grab something and stab them with it. They want you to swear. They want you to throw things and smash stuff. And they want you to act in ways that make you look nuts. Like off your rocker crazy. Because then that's such an easy, convenient exit strategy for them. And they're going to have the mercy and the sympathy of everybody. Because they basically have painted you to be somebody now that who wouldn't want to get away from that person. Like, wow, thank God you got away from that psycho. But unfortunately, these people that are abusive like that, they're not just going to do it to you. They're going to do the whole reactive abuse thing with you, and then they're going to go on to the next one and do the same thing with the next person. So, yeah, it's unfortunate you don't just see this in like romantic relationships. I have seen reactive abuse with parents and their children a lot. It's crazy. It's crazy. Somebody that would provoke anger in somebody else because they get a high out of it, because they feel superior, they get this sense of control, they get a thrill out of seeing somebody just besides themselves with somebody that can get such enjoyment out of making somebody else suffer, especially just so that way they can paint them to be somebody that they're not even, it's sick. It is really sick. And I have been through that. I've been through the whole thing where this person would provoke me, push every button that they knew I had, and then silently take their phone and push the record and just sit there calm as could be, while I'm kind of losing it and going on my tangent and saying all this stuff and just like, you know, and then they just walk out of the room calm. End the video. You know, like, sick. That's reactive abuse. That's how it works. And there's a couple reasons they do it. They do it so that way later on, when they abuse you in these ways, they can be like, shh, you did it too, you do it too, or you were the first one to do it. You were the first one to ever do this in the relationship. And they might actually be right, but it's because it was reactive abuse. They pushed you and provoked you until you snapped. And then when they snap back, it was just self-defense, right? So they do it for that reason. They do it so that way it's part of just gaslighting. They do it as part of their exit strategy if they're thinking of leaving you, or they fear you might be leaving them. They want to make sure that they're painting the picture in the way that makes them look like the victim and you look like the villain. And yeah. So if you have somebody in your life that provokes you, and then when you lose it, they get calm and they get a cocky kind of look on their face, or they grin, or they laugh, or they ever use it later to say, you did it first, you do it too. And especially if they ever record you while you're losing it, this is reactive abuse. And somebody that is at that level of abusive is not somebody you should have in your life at all. They're very dangerous. It's never going to go good for you. And this is one of those situations that if you're with an abusive person that is using reactive abuse, they are setting you up for jail time. And you better be very careful, because they will push you to the point where you assault them and they will charge you. They will charge you. And if you assault them bad enough, then the state will charge you. They don't even have to be part of it, right? If you have children, you could lose your children over this. You could lose your job. You get a criminal record, and guess what? You can't get half the jobs in the world. You can't cross the border. You can't go travel to other countries. You know, it might seem like overreaction all I'm saying to you right now, but no, I'm talking about stuff I understand. Reactive abuse is very, very, very serious form of psychological warfare that goes on in abusive relationships. And it is one of the biggest warning signs for that this relationship could end up in a fatality. So take it very, very serious. If you guys are in a situation like this, I know there's not a lot that I can do other than emotional support in that, but shoot me a message on Messenger if you do need someone to talk to. I'll do my absolute best to help you kind of sort out what might be happening. Yeah, I don't think I have too much more on this subject to say, but I thought it would be pretty important to get this topic and this conversation going, because reactive abuse is a real thing and very, very, very wounding. It really makes you start second guessing yourself, and it can make you start wondering, who is the abuser in the relationship? Am I really messed up? Is it me? You know, it's sad. And I know none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. But somebody that is provoking you because they want you to react, they are a sick individual, and you need to realize that. So that's about it.